listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Teresa Lear Levine. You're already enough. But if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching and developing yourself, creating more of the person you feel called to be. This podcast is here to inspire and support you. Let's release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Becoming More Me. I am very excited to have Karolina Rzadkowolska here with me today. I hope I didn't butcher that too much, Karolina. And I'm really excited for the conversation that we're going to be having. Karolina is an alcohol-free certified life coach who helps intuitive women ditch alcohol and discover their greater purpose. She's worked with thousands of clients through her programs to change their drinking habit and unleash a new level of health, happiness, and potential to go after their biggest dreams. Her book, Euphoric, Ditch the Alcohol and Gain a Happier, More Confident You, came out on bookshelves on January 4th. Was that this year or last year, Karolina? Last year. It's been a little while, and I know it's doing really well. And she's the host of the Euphoric the podcast, founder of Euphoric AF, and her work has been featured in the Huffington Post, Sunday Post, Pop Sugar, Real Simple, Elite Daily, and multiple TV shows. And she's passionate about helping you discover what really makes you happy outside of a beverage and design a life that you love. I'm really excited that you're here, and I'm very excited to also talk about all these topics because I think they're pretty hot right now. And I think you have a lot to offer us. So thanks for being here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah. So I know that a lot of our conversation might revolve around your relationship with self and alcohol. So I'd love it if you'd open things up with some of your own background and your history with drinking and why you're now euphoric in your alcohol-free life.
Yeah. So, thank you for having me on because this is kind of a taboo topic. And I'm going to say something that might sound really bold to the listener, but hopefully by the end of the episode, you'll see me paint a story that can kind of prove this point. But I believe that alcohol essentially blocks us from our greater creativity, intuition, and purpose in life. And I'm not talking about heavy, severe drinking. I'm talking about what we've been all socialized to do. For the most part, our drinking on the weekends or after work or whatever it looks like, whatever that normal looks like, normal is now way above the health guidelines for most people. And that's kind of where I found myself. So, I obviously started drinking at a younger age. I was in college. I partied a lot. I picked up the worst habits around alcohol when I was younger. It was just, something to have fun, to go overboard with. But what happened as I started getting older, as I got into my mid to late 20s, is I really started to get into a healthy and mindful lifestyle. And so what I happened to do is just kind of push the drinking to the weekend. So Monday through Thursday, I lived quite a healthy lifestyle. I went to yoga classes, I meditated, I drank green juices, and then every single weekend I would drink. I would go out with my friends, I would go to a game night, sushi night, maybe have some wine at home. No matter what, there was always alcohol involved. And every single Monday morning, I woke up feeling like crap. Every Monday morning, like clockwork. I couldn't sleep in the early hours of the morning. I was recriminating myself. I felt like I just took 4 steps forward in the healthy week that I had, and then 7 steps backwards basically over the weekend. And I just felt emotionally low, groggy, gross, and every Monday I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to take a break from alcohol. But there was always the social event on the calendar that prohibited me. And I really didn't think I had permission to just stop drinking because I really associated it with, AA and alcoholism and all these scary terms that I was not willing to wade into, right? Most of my drinking, yes, I overdid it. Yes, I embarrassed myself sometimes. Yes, I had an unhealthy relationship with it, but it was also very similar to the people around me at that point, right? And so what I finally did is I heard of Dry January, that we're recording right now in January too. It's a really special, fun time for me. And the Dry January concept really hit me differently. It was like, oh, wait a minute. I can just take a break from alcohol and I don't have to explain myself to people. I don't have to go around and tell everyone I have a problem. I don't have to make up this big thing out of it. I can just quietly take this break from alcohol. And I did it 5 years ago now, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the lifestyle. I fell in love with the peaceful mornings I had, the deep sleep I was getting, really waking up so proud of myself every single day. My health and wellness lifestyle got to get better and all these things. But I wasn't at the end of February quite convinced that I could keep this up. I still believe normal adults have to drink. And so come February, I drink a few times that month. And the contrast is so rich for me. A few drinks, like even just 2 drinks, completely ruins my sleep. And what I noticed too is I had a really nice elevated mood in January. I was feeling happier, just more connected with people. And I would notice even just a few drinks in, my mood would crash after drinking. I would get frustrated, exhausted, cranky. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to make me like feel happy in the moment or better. And just the illusion was completely popped for me. So I decided to take another break in February of that year. And I've basically been alcohol-free ever since. And what happened in my life has been so transformative. Not only did my health improve, not only did my sense of self-worth and self-esteem improve, but it really gave me the one thing that I wanted the most, is confidence to go after my bigger dreams. Instead of waiting on the sidelines, wishing I had a better life, I really got the confidence from the alcohol-free lifestyle to quit my job, launch a business, write a book, travel the world whenever I want. And I just can say that my existence today is just a night and day difference from where it used to be, 5, 6 years ago.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you had that experience and that you are where you are now because of it. How do you feel like eliminating alcohol helped you or helps women in general to better align with their dreams and their deeper values?
Great question. And that's the thing that I really love about this work is that, so typically and so classically, we've been taught that, you evaluate your relationship with alcohol based on how problematic it is in your life. And, for some people, that means getting DUIs or going to jail or losing your job or something like that. And if it's not that extreme, it's probably okay. And I know so many women who drink, not over drink, but they're doing it every single day, and it's taking a huge toll. And so one thing I like to say is, like, it doesn't matter to me if you drink 1 drink a week or 10 drinks a night. If it is not aligned to your values and your deeper dreams, there's going to be dissatisfaction there, right? Because there's a love-hate thing going on with alcohol. Yes, we think, it helps us in the moment, but it costs us, in the long run. And so I really do feel like when women have values of health, connection, mindfulness, presence, grace, integrity, alcohol doesn't actually allow us to live into those values. Like nobody wakes up the next day after drinking feeling like $1 million. Nobody, right? It doesn't matter what your biology is. And so like we try to do all these things to be healthy. And then alcohol is like the one thing that is incorporated often into a very healthy lifestyle. And it's robbing us of proper sleep. It's overtaxing our body when our body has to detox it every single time. And it's leaving our neurochemicals in our brain at a much lower state than they were before we drank. It's wreaking havoc on our bodies, right? And so when your values are health or mindfulness, for example, taking a drink is like the opposite of mindfulness. It's like, I don't feel comfortable. Let me just have a drink and band-aid over those feelings. And I don't have to feel that anymore. But I really think that, especially not just our values, but our deeper dreams, alcohol often blocks because, it lowers our self-esteem over time, our self-worth. I think it blocks creativity and intuition. And I'm not saying this from like a categorical, I'm looking at what alcohol does to people. I'm looking at what happens when you take a break. I don't know what it is. It's magical. But when you take a break, for almost every single person I've talked to who's had this experience, their intuition starts to talk to them more, right? Like they're starting to hear messages. I mean, their intuition was already telling them to take a break from alcohol. And it's like they finally listened and got this like relationship rebuilt with that intuition. So then the intuition starts giving them more messages. Hey, maybe you should ask for a different job. Hey, maybe you need to write a book. Hey, maybe you need to make this change in your life. And I think that creativity spurs as well. And then all these gifts that you get as a result from going alcohol free, you have more energy, more enthusiasm, more confidence. I mean, when you go alcohol free, you get so much confidence because you're doing something that's so atypical and so hard in our society that you're like, I'm a badass. Like if I can do this, what else could I do? And that sense of possibility, I think, really opens up to you. You're also not numbing your emotions anymore. So you can really feel what your emotions are trying to tell you in regards to how to shift and align your life to your dreams. If you take that confidence, you take also the courage it takes to go alcohol free. So, telling someone you're not drinking takes courage. Ordering a mocktail at a bar takes courage. to be alcohol free in a society that dictates that we drink at every social occasion is really being kind of the lone wolf sometimes. And you take just all these qualities. It's like an alchemy, this magical alchemy, more confidence, more courage, more energy, more enthusiasm, more intuition, more creativity. And it's like, as a result of that, I've just found so many people wake up to the profundity of their life and go after the one thing they've always wanted that they probably were denying themselves before. So in my case, I wasn't fulfilled in my career. I was like waiting for the weekend every single weekend so I could get through the week because I wasn't happy there. And drinking was the reward I got at the end of the weekend. I didn't realize how unfulfilled I was and that I actually had any choice in it, right? To be able to change that up. And so when I launched a business and became a coach, I started to find real meaning and fulfillment in my life. I eventually left my day job and like, I now feel high every day. Like I don't need a drink to feel high. I get to feel that every day because I've designed my life this way. It obviously takes time to do that. But, I had dreams of writing a book and I finally had the discipline, the creativity to do that. And just so many things that I feel I'm just so much bolder in my life about. And I've seen clients do the same thing, write books, change jobs, launch businesses, move somewhere they've always wanted to move. Like it's just this beautiful reawakening to your life. So quite a long answer for you, but I just think something magical happens, when you ditch alcohol or even just take a break from alcohol that really can propel you forward to your dreams.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you remove the thing that you're buffering with, you get to really see what's underneath of it. And that's definitely a big buffer for a lot of people, for sure. You said you drank quite a bit before, you went through that dry January 5+ years ago now. What were the big challenges that came up for you that month? Like, was it just easy or was it difficult that month when you stopped?
I think cognitively, I had been wanting to drink less. Like I had actually recognized, whoa, this Monday morning feeling sucks. I want to drink less for 7 years before I took that break. So for 7 years, I was going through this agony of always trying to drink less all the time. And so, I had these rules on myself, like, okay, you were invited out for dinner tonight. Okay, but you have a presentation tomorrow morning. So only 2 drinks and you have to go to bed by this time and and then you like overdid it and you had 3 drinks and you're like, oh, I feel like crap. Why did I do that? It was this crazy chatter going on all the time. The mental gymnastics, the should I, shouldn't I, decision fatigue, the rules, the disappointing yourself, the skipping a workout because you don't feel your best, years and years and years and years in that. And so I think that by the time I got to this point where I was going to do dry January, I was so sick of that. I was so sick of trying to moderate and drink less. Like that was giving me such a headache and making me feel like such a failure. Because guess what? Most of the time I could do it. And then sometimes I couldn't. So it's like, I couldn't trust myself either, which part of me would come out that night. You know what I mean? The part that follows the rules and goes to bed early or the part that doesn't. It just felt like madness. And so, I had taken kind of experiments of like, trying to not drink certain weekends and stuff like that. So I've been kind of practicing this muscle a little bit, but I have to say when I took that break in January, I was so ready and it was so inviting to get the freedom from all that bullshit I was just describing. So yeah, I remember like the first, Friday night, the first restaurant I went to, I was like, oh, I don't get to have my glass of wine. And it quickly passed within a few like weeks to be like, this feels amazing. Who cares about that 20-minute buzz? Like, this is so much better than that. But I think the social pressure, like this idea that really, to be normal and to fit in, one must drink, that took me a lot longer to kind of get over, you know what I mean? So I think that happens often too for people is that, eventually if you drink regularly at home or something like that, like that's the place where the habit changes first. And then it's a little harder to then become confident enough to always, say no, thank you, or not to drink out publicly. So, that took some work as well, but the mindset changes were so worth it because I can tell you today, and for the last 5 years, I don't desire alcohol. It's not that I can't drink. I don't want to drink. I've completely changed my mindset about it. And so I don't think it's just a matter of like, removing it from your life. It's also a matter of deconstructing what you've made alcohol mean for you, and changing all of those things in your mind so that you actually lose your desire to drink. And a really good example of that is so many people smoke cigarettes when they're younger. I smoked in college and you couldn't pay me to smoke a cigarette today. Like there's no desire for it.
Right. Yeah. And I do a lot with habit change in my own work. So I can definitely respect that. So from your point of view with going alcohol free, what are some of your favorite tips or tricks for that habit change?
Absolutely. So I think, whatever is happening, whether we're drinking out of stress or we're drinking because we need more excitement in our lives, like, oh, it's Friday night, I want to do something fun. I think recognizing that most of us use alcohol as a treat. Most of us use alcohol as a way to reward ourselves for the other hard work we've done. So it feels special. It feels like we're getting pampered. And so I think the best tip I can give someone is do not deprive yourself. When you feel deprivation, your monkey brain will be like, you need a drink, you deserve it, you did all this stuff, and it can really feel hard. And so what I say the easiest way often to not feel deprived is find another drink that you love. Like there's literally thousands of drinks on the market these days that have very fun flavor profiles, whether they're, alcohol-free beverages, mocktails, even alcohol-free beers or wines, or something with adaptogens or nootropics, or a mushroom latte, or, coconut elixirs. Like, come on, there's thousands of drinks out there. So I would say like have fun exploring those drinks and continue the ritual, because the ritual of itself isn't bad, right? Like sitting down at the end of the day and saying, my work is done. I get to relax. I get to, put my feet up now. That's actually a great signal to the brain to kind of, stop with the overproductivity and start to decompress. It's the ethanol itself, though, that then, actually releases more stress hormones. So if you do the same ritual just with a different drink, like you're actually getting the relaxation you're looking for. So definitely mocktails. But for some people, there's other ways to kind of decompress too. So I would just experiment with different rituals that really make you feel pampered and feel like you're actually switching over from your, sympathetic overdrive kind of nervous system over to your parasympathetic nervous system at the end of the day. And, same thing when you're going out. If like your friends invite you out, see if there's a restaurant or a bar you could go to that has mocktails. If like everyone's having something special and you're sitting there with the tap water, that's when you're going to feel deprived and feel like it's unsustainable. But, if there's all these like fun drinks, like, does it really make a difference if there's ethanol or not in it? Like, there's actually studies to show that they're really like, we feel the relaxation of alcohol before we drink alcohol. Like we feel it because we anticipate it as a reward. And there's studies to prove that, so many other drinks can do that job.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. So again, like with the science of it, I geek out on that. I'd love to hear more about like the effects of alcohol on our bodies and brains and what you can expect there when you take a break from it.
Yeah. So my favorite is the neurochemistry, because I think I felt like I was a mad woman going through some crazy thing all by myself, every Monday morning feeling low, feeling kind of like the week slowly gets to build up again, like feeling my emotions getting, okay, they're getting better. They're getting better. Now it's Friday. I feel really good again. And let's drink and do the whole cycle all over again. I had no idea what alcohol was doing to my, neurochemistry. And so alcohol is a depressant. It is a toxin to the human body as well. So when we drink alcohol, our body, it gets into a depressive state, which means everything is slowing down in our nervous system. And this isn't necessarily a good thing. Like this is also the way that like our cells become slowly intoxicated towards cell death. Like that's how anatomists sometimes will describe it. Like your cells are going to cell death. It's almost like you're getting sedated. It's not really actual relaxation, right?
Yeah.
So because of that depressant nature of alcohol, though, our body has this counteractive system to counteract that, right? So our body actually releases stress hormones in response to alcohol. So after about 20 minutes to an hour after a drink, our levels of cortisol, our levels of adrenaline and dynorphin, which is like the opposite of endorphins, actually rise in our bodies. Now, most people will start to feel this sensation and will go and grab another drink because it doesn't feel comfortable. So most of the time you have a few drinks in the night and you don't really notice this high spike of all these stress hormones until you wake up at 2 or 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning and you can't go back to bed. It's such a common phenomenon when people have drinks. Or in the next day, you have massive anxiety. You just feel on edge and you don't know what's going on. And these stress hormones actually circulate in our body for much longer than alcohol itself. So it can take almost 2 weeks for them to completely filter out.
Yeah, that's.
I'm sorry.
I
definitely. Dog.
I do.
Okay.
Your dog?
Is that a problem? Should I go?
No, I have 2 dogs. One of them's around here somewhere, and they could make noise at any time. So your dogs are equally welcome on my show.
Okay. Hopefully he'll stop. Okay, I'll just get back into it. Sorry.
No worries. But yeah, no, I know that I've had some of my worst night sleeps after drinking.
right? It lowers our REM sleep. So it's like, even if you're getting the 8 hours, you're not actually clocking in the nourishing sleep you need. So in addition to those high stress hormones that the body produces, when we drink, we also lower our receptivity to dopamine because alcohol releases this artificial spike of it, almost the same way that any other drug will do, cocaine or heroin. It's too much for our natural body to be like, this is too much dopamine than I would ever naturally receive. And so our receptors that actually catch the dopamine in the brain start to retract, which means that we become actually numb to the effect of dopamine in our life. So all the other things that are supposed to make us happy, a walk in the woods, playing with a child, a belly laugh, they just don't register in the brain. In addition to that, alcohol will lower our levels of serotonin and GABA. So what that tells me is that when I was drinking regularly, my stress hormones were up here, my happiness neurotransmitters were down here, and that's what my normal state felt like all the time, even on the days I didn't drink, because it really takes a few weeks to rebalance. So when I took a break from alcohol, all of a sudden my stress hormones go down, my happiness neurotransmitters go up, and literally that's why it's called euphoric. I felt euphoric. And I think it's just such an interesting thing to say because, most of us start drinking when we're 18, 21, 15, whatever. And it's really a habit that most people then have on for the rest of their lives, maybe except for a pregnancy or two. We don't really actually know what our natural mental state feels like if alcohol is a presence. We don't, right? And so that's why I love just sharing with people, just try a break from alcohol because you don't even know how happy, like how much less anxiety, how much better sleep, how much happier you actually would be without alcohol. Even though it sounds like you're depriving yourself, like when you discover how amazing it feels, it starts to change your worldview about it.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I really feel like things are shifting a lot in, just mainstream society and drinking and things with more people, experiencing the alcohol-free options or going dry for a period of time or just, committing to a sober life. I feel like it's become a lot less like you stick out if you decide not to drink.
It's like I don't like the word trend because it like makes it seem like it's passing, but it's like a revolution that's happening, right? Like
wellness movement.
Right? Like it's every year more and more people do dry January. The sales of alcohol-free drinks are going up. The rise of mocktail bars are going up. The number of people. And you know what I have to say? I think it's honestly the most intuitive people who stop to reevaluate alcohol because most of us, like some people, alcohol really doesn't figure in their life. And that's, I'm not talking about those people, but I'm talking about people who have the regular habit and they started doing it because everyone else was doing it, whether we did it in high school or college. And, it's a rite of passage if you really think about it in our society. And then it's kind of locked into our institutions. You go anywhere past 5 p.m. and alcohol is going to be served. So it's like we all are doing what everyone else is doing without stopping to think about it. And when you start to notice that it has negative effects of your life, and I'm not talking about the DUI or the crazy job loss, I'm talking about just not feeling your best the next day or feeling ashamed or just feeling low or, like not liking that you always need a drink at the end of a hard day. Those effects, I think it's only the most intuitive people that are like, wait a minute, something can be better here. I can have something better here. I can experiment and try for something better and, be kind of like a forward thinking person to try something new. Right. And so I think that there's just more people kind of waking up to that as like health and mindfulness is just really getting normalized into our culture. It's like alcohol's like that piece that just doesn't fit with everything else that we care about, and I think more and more people are just recognizing that. And there's so much going on in the space. There's so many books about it. There's so many mocktail events about it, speakers, just I think it's really, really incredible. And I think a lot of other people are also coming out like celebrities, Drew Barrymore stopped drinking, Anne Hathaway stopped drinking like that are saying, I don't like how this is figuring in my life either. And I feel a lot better alcohol free. So I think it really is getting popular. And Gen Z supposedly drinks less than any other generation ever before. It's not like figuring in their life as much. So I think we're going to see a huge change in the next 10 years, in addition to also all the health studies that are coming out to really say there's not any safe amount of alcohol for a human body.
I hope that's true. I know that like as a mom of 4 boys and some of them, my oldest will be 18 this year, like seeing the way that they look at things like drugs and drinking and smoking versus like my generation, we just kind of like made fun of like the PSAs and everything else. We're like, whatever, let's just like do all the things. And they're like, oh, that stuff's stupid. Like there's just such a different outlook on it, even though like a lot of them are still learning like in school through those same kind of like, old fashioned PSAs and stuff and health class and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's a difference in the way that it's being perceived now. I'm not sure exactly what accounts for that, but I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. And, I think like alcohol will figure in our society for time to come. But like, I think what happened with smoking is a really great example, like obviously lots of people were doing it in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s even. And today I live in California. I don't know a single person who smokes cigarettes, right? I know people still smoke cigarettes, but I don't know them. And so what happened is it became like it was a mainstream activity, and now it's really a fringe activity. And I think that's what alcohol might happen too. And as we look at even just how society progresses, like there'll be technological advances. Like, right, why would we continue drinking this toxin to socialize when it's doing so much harm for our body? I'm sure they're going to invent something new. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the idea of going dry was a lot less appealing too, 20 years ago when like your only option was like O'Doul's, So what's your favorite mocktail, or what are some of your favorite things to drink instead of alcohol?
Yeah. So I love to try a lot of different drinks. I get sent them all the time by drink companies. So Wild AF is a really good alcohol-free wine. It's like a sparkling rosé that has like no sugar. It has this like tart acidic profile that I think is really nice. Euphoric makes a really nice drinks with like nootropics and adaptogens. And I honestly have to say that like a nice spindrift, those pureed fruit with just a little bit of water. Oh, there you go. You have one right there. That's to me the biggest treat. A lot of times I'll just drink water. I've completely kind of denormalized having to have something so special every day, but I love to just explore and experiment and stuff like that. So, like you can go online and find a lot of these beverages there, but you can even just go to any health food store and just experiment. Maybe you'll like coconut water. Maybe you'll like this mushroom latte. Maybe you'll like this matcha drink. Like there's so many beverages out there.
I love mixing a little bit of ginger juice or doing a little bit of grated ginger in my spindrift. That's like one of my favorite little things that I'll do like in the morning, like a little morning drink. So yeah,
that's so healthy, like that's so good for you, right?
Yeah, no, I love the spindrift for sure. Yeah, there's so many options. It's crazy. So I know you have in your book, there's an 8-week guide essentially that it makes up the book that helps women ditch alcohol or at least, take a break from it. And can you tell us a little about that process?
Sure. And so, the book is laid out before we get to the 8-week guide. It goes over the body, mind, and soul about what will actually happen when you take a break from alcohol in a really positive, uplifting way. Like these amazing benefits will happen, and this will happen for your mindset, and this will happen for your soul. And so by the time a person gets to the 8-week plan, they're like excited. They're like, I can't wait to do this break, right? And so then the 8-week plan really guides them through a process of actually changing their mindset about alcohol and really getting reflective about what alcohol's come to mean in their life. So I like to say that alcohol is nothing more than a beverage in a glass, a fermented beverage in a glass, right? Like that's it, right? We as a society have attached so much meaning to it. We have made it the symbol of celebration. We have made it the symbol of commiserating. We have made it mean relaxation. We have made it mean glamour and sophistication. Like we have put all that meaning on alcohol, which I think is
romance, celebration,
right?
Yes.
We have absorbed that ever since we were young kids. Like we probably started drinking as adolescents, but we actually got messages around alcohol way before that, right? Way before like 4, 5, 6 years old, watching it on TV, seeing parents, seeing adults. And so to us, it becomes really this mark of this is what adulthood looks like. This is what sophistication or being independent or a rebel or, a connoisseur, all these things get mixed up with our idea of alcohol. And so the 8-week plan really helps change the mindset to really recognize what is it that you believe about alcohol. Do you believe that it helps you relax, for example? Okay, let's deconstruct that, right? We just went over and learned all about how those stress hormones go up in the body. Physiologically, alcohol raises the heart rate. It's hard to metabolize. Like there's no relaxation happening in the body or the brain when you drink alcohol, right? That is a complete not scientific truth. And yet we believe that because it slows our brain cells down for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And so it's like we have to like start to come with the reasons why we like to drink and start to actually ask ourselves, is this true? Like, is it true that alcohol relaxes me? Because if I can really dig deep and not only find the scientific evidence for something like that to be not true, but actually remember in my life, yeah, actually, there was that time where I had a drink and then I felt like really on edge, an hour later, I had trouble sleeping or I had more racing thoughts. We can start to be like, okay, there's no alcohol doesn't relax me. And that's an easy example because there's a lot of science behind it. But what about like, well, alcohol makes me feel more confident socially, so I'm an introvert, for example. I grew up very shy. So when I started drinking in high school, like at the end of high school, it was this magical elixir. Oh my God, I drink this and then I turn into an extrovert and I turn into this bubbly, popular person. And so for me, for all of my 20s, I outsourced my confidence to alcohol. And I can tell you that I surely did not feel confident if I didn't have a drink in my hand. And so I had this belief that alcohol makes me feel more confident, right? And so I had to deconstruct that. I had to debunk that myth in my life. So first of all, there's actually the times I embarrassed myself. Like, how is that making me more confident over time? There's the wine stains on my mouth. Like, no, right? Nothing about that screams confidence. But it's also like this deeply psychologically unconscious process of like outsourcing confidence to something outside of you, meaning you're never building it within. That's almost as if I'm telling my psyche, Karolina, nobody wants to talk to you. You have nothing interesting to say. You're not likable. You're not popular. But here, have this drink and everything will be better and people will like you. Right. So it's like actually, and at the real like objective point of view, alcohol was deteriorating my confidence over time. It lowered my self-esteem and self-worth, and it had no absolute long-term solution to it. Right. If there wasn't a drink around, I still felt all those feelings because I never worked through them. Like every time you numb those emotions of uncomfort or, feeling insecure, you're not working through them. You're just pushing them down further and further. And so, yes, okay, maybe the first few times I go out, socially without a drink, I'm feeling kind of like weird in my skin. It's not a normal feeling for me, but I have the ability to work through these feelings and to kind of start practicing my sober socializing muscle to start feeling more confident. It's kind of like public speaking. Most adults are scared of public speaking, but if you have to practice it and do it over and over again, eventually it gets to a point where it's not as terrifying anymore. You know what I mean? And I think it's the same thing with me in sober socializing. Like I've practiced it enough. I've found that confidence within. I do not believe that alcohol makes me more confident anymore. And so I've popped a huge illusion and a reason why I was drinking. And now most adults have around 10 to 20 reasons why they drink. So this process you need to do for each and every one. But the thing is, when you really believe that alcohol is not providing you any benefits, any pleasure, or any comfort whatsoever, like the desire to drink goes away. And so that's really what the 8-week plan is about. And it goes through, different processes that will happen for you, like, how to socialize without it, how to learn to listen to your emotions, how to deal with negative thoughts, and then also how to experiment with new passions and a sense of purpose so that by the end of the 8-week plan, it's not about what you're just ditching or giving up. You've given the time and the space to really start to find new activities that light you up and, eventually finding something that's so meaningful to you and just give you such a sense of flow and purpose that you really, really are awakened to like where your life is going. And that's, I think, the most exciting part about this. I don't care that people drink. I don't care what you have at the end of the day. It's about creating space and letting go of what no longer serves you. So you have the room to attract what you're really meant to focus on in your life. And, when I was telling you the story about the mental gymnastics, how I would go back and forth, shouldn't I drink? Okay, only 2. Okay, you have to wake up. Ugh. My brain was devoting so much power and space to a stupid beverage. At the end of the day, that's all it was. My brain that's capable of writing books and giving speeches and changing people's lives was being wasted thinking about a beverage. And so I think it's just this power that we all have that happens when you remove alcohol. You have so much potential and just empowerment to do anything that you want in life. And so that's kind of where you'll be left off at the end of the 8-week plan of just getting really excited of what that looks like for you.
That's awesome. I love that it creates more space. I think anything that we can eliminate or add to our lives that helps us create the space to do the things that we're meant to do is a good thing. So tell me what you do as an alcohol-free life coach.
Absolutely. So I think like how I just described before, the mindset around alcohol is like the core of why we drink. So like thinking of it like kind of like an iceberg. Most of an iceberg, you'll say, is underneath the water. It's this massive, landform. And then only a little tip at the very top sticks up above the water. And so all that underneath it, I call the mindset. and the very top is the behavior, right? And so a lot of people approach, wanting to change their relationship with alcohol, drink less or not at all, by just focusing on that behavior piece. And there's some, work to do there. I'm not saying that there's no, habit change or behavior change that needs to happen, but we almost at the expense of then changing the mindset. So as an alcohol-free life coach, I run several programs and, experiences that help women change the way that they see, conceive of, and desire alcohol so that the desire subconsciously goes away and they're left with a neutrality towards it, even almost seeing it for what it really is, and just really finding strength in going alcohol-free, finding those new passions and hobbies, and having the support of other like-minded women along with that. I've also found, that as I continue doing this work, first I was just helping women ditch alcohol, but then this other beautiful thing happened is people were awakening to deeper purposes and what they really wanted to do with their life. So now we have programs to help people with that aspect of it once you're already alcohol free. And then I found that, a lot of women want to become coaches because they want to give back and help the person behind them. So we're launching a certification program this year. And then, there's so many coaches that are out there working that want to help other people, but are, marketing and all that clients, like getting all that stuff is difficult. So we also offer business coaching, right? So I really see Euphoric as offering the full spectrum on an alcohol-free woman's journey, from just questioning it to how to ditch it, how to make it insignificant in your life, how to find your deeper purpose, how to find a career that's aligned for you, and then how to go for that career. Because that's kind of my journey. And I find a lot of women go through on a similar journey to that. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of my job. I also host retreats, which is really just an incredible experience to go, somewhere beautiful with like-minded women and have like a deeply, spiritual and transformational experience together. But yeah, that's what I do.
I love that. And I really enjoyed this conversation too. If people want to find out more about the coaching or the retreats or anything else that you do and follow up with you, what's the best place to find you?
Absolutely. So you can check out euphoricaf.com and find all of that information there. And then if you're interested, if this conversation sparked just any interest whatsoever, I think just leaning into that feeling is amazing. So if you want to start out by just reading a book, nothing threatening, you're not giving up alcohol forever, just reading a book to kind of learn more and dive a little deeper, you can go to euphoricbook.com and find my book in most retailers. And it just can be a really good introspective guide to you to just assess how alcohol does feel in your life or what you're looking for outside of it. And that is available in most countries as well, euphoricbook.com.
Wonderful. I will make sure all of that information is linked in the show notes. And I always appreciate anything that helps us become more of who we're meant to be in this world and elevate our consciousness. And the work that you do definitely does that. So thank you for coming and sharing your personal stories and all the ways that you're helping other people with their alcohol-free journey.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure speaking with you today. And I'm just so excited for the listeners of your audience, who have been awakening to their potential on a journey for so long. And if this is maybe for some person that one missing piece, that really unlocks everything, that's just so exciting.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Karolina. And thank you all for listening. Have a great day. Thanks so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or post on social media and tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave action steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. Keep shining your light.